This segment of DelmarvaLife is brought to you by TidalHealth.
A helicopter making a landing at TidalHealth Peninsula Regional usually means one thing: someone is in need of trauma care. TidalHealth Peninsula Regional has the only designated Level 3 adult trauma center on Maryland's Eastern Shore. Every year, 2,000 people come here by helicopter or ambulance to receive trauma services. Unfortunately, TidalHealth may have to end those life-saving services if the state of Maryland doesn't provide more money. And to learn more about what that means for you, we have TidalHealth President and CEO Steve Leonard. Thank you, Steve, for being here.
No, it's great. Thank you for having me.
Very important issue. So let's start off by talking about what exactly are trauma services.
Yeah, no, sure. Great question. And it's one we're often getting these days. So there are many emergency departments on Delmarva, and we're all fortunate and privileged to be able to take care of our community for most needs that are out there. And obviously we're not the only one, and all come together in that effort. Trauma services are different. They really are a program of services embedded within a hospital that provide a higher level of service for those community members experiencing significant injuries and traumas. These mechanisms of injuries, they could be falls, motor vehicle accidents, have significant mortality risk. And if you have trauma services in place, the evidence would tell you have a better likelihood of a better outcome.
Sure.
Trauma services look different depending upon where you are, and Maryland is unique, when it comes to our level of service here in the state.
And although trauma services are offered in the emergency department, it's not the emergency department.
Correct. So to be a trauma center, it's interesting, our site in Seaford, Delaware is a trauma center as well. But there are different standards. In Maryland, to be a designated trauma center, you have to have about 12 specialists on call. These are physicians who are highly trained in each of their disciplines. Maryland is unique. In Delaware, we only have to have 4 physicians on call of different types. So by having those physicians, as well as the nursing staff, as well as the in-house capabilities of definitive options such as an operating room that runs 24 hours a day, you have a better chance of a good outcome. But obviously with all of that infrastructure comes the expense, and that's where we're having challenges.
Right. So what is the root cause of these financial challenges?
Sure. So in Maryland operates a very unique reimbursement system. We are different than the other 49 states. We actually don't decide or negotiate with insurance companies on how much our services are charged and ultimately paid for. Our charges are determined by a commission that actually sets rates for all hospitals in the state. And to a large extent, it's a very positive model, but in some circumstances, for some hospitals like ours that are caught in the middle, we're not large like a Baltimore academic center, and we're not a small center. We're in the middle. We're a tertiary center. The system has trouble reflecting the necessary support for those more intense levels of service. And that's what we've been working with this commission now for several years, trying to get them to understand that it does cost more to provide that higher level of service.
Right. This could have a devastating effect on our community, couldn't it?
It does. In many ways, there's 2 aspects to this. There's the traumas, which that's where everybody tends to go, the what-if scenario. So we service in our region about 500,000 people full-time throughout the year. Obviously, Ocean City and the beach area swells Ocean City alone by 300,000 in the summer. So during the summer season, we're servicing up to 1 million people. And if you come to the shore and you have a trauma, chances are you're going to come to our center. We may treat you completely, we may stabilize you and ship you to shock trauma, but we're a very important part of the Maryland emergency medical system by being that designated trauma center. And if we're not here, yes, you could go to another local emergency department, but you're not going to receive the same level of service that a designated trauma center would have, such as ours. And unfortunately, the reality is if you have a major accident, the evidence would tell you need to be within a definitive operating room within an hour.
So what can we as a community do?
I think what we're asking for from folks right now in the community is a little bit of patience, because they will likely see longer waits in the emergency department. Surgeries might be booked out a little bit further. All of that's really being driven by our attempt to work within the funds that are given to us while we work through that process to have them recognize these additional expenses.
Sure. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming in and explaining this to us, and hopefully we'll have a good outcome.
Yeah, well, thank you, and thank you for the interest and helping us share it with your viewers.
Sure.